Have you ever had that nagging feeling like something's stuck in the back of your throat, especially in the morning? You wake up, try to clear it with a cough, a throat clearing, a sip of water, but no matter what you do, it sticks around like an unwanted guest. That lingering mucus isn't just a random quirk of your body. For many older adults, it's a direct result of something quietly happening inside their sinuses. Post-nasal drip, made worse with age. As we grow older, several subtle but impactful changes begin to occur in our upper respiratory system. The mucosal lining inside our sinuses, once moist, elastic, and vibrant, begins to thin out and lose hydration. Think of it like the inside of a sponge slowly drying out. At the same time, those microscopic hair-like structures known as cilia, which help transport mucus and debris out of the nasal passages, start to lose their vigor. They become slower and less coordinated, like a cleaning crew working with old equipment. This means that mucus, which your body constantly produces to keep your airways clean, doesn't get flushed out the way it used to. Instead of moving forward through the nose and exiting normally, it trickles backward, sliding down the throat, especially while you're sleeping. That's why the discomfort is often worse in the early morning. But here's what makes post-nasal drip especially frustrating. It's persistent. Unlike mucus from a head cold or seasonal flu, which generally clears up in a week or two, post-nasal drip caused by aging sinuses can linger for months or even become a daily, chronic issue. Many seniors mistake it for allergies, a mild infection, or simply an unshakable cough, when in reality, it's part of a cycle that's completely manageable once you understand it. Several lifestyle and environmental triggers can amplify the problem. Indoor heating during colder months or blasting air conditioning during the summer drastically reduces air humidity, causing further dehydration of your nasal passages. Some people also use nasal sprays too frequently, especially over-the-counter decongestants, which can create a rebound effect, making things worse over time. And surprisingly, acid reflux during the night can also irritate nasal passages, intensifying the mucus production further. Now let's look at the emotional side of this. Postnasal drip is rarely viewed as a serious health crisis, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have serious impacts. Imagine waking up every morning and spending the first 30 minutes coughing, spitting, or clearing your throat before you can even enjoy your first sip of tea or coffee. It disrupts your morning routine, makes eating unpleasant, and can be a source of embarrassment, especially in social settings. I spoke with a woman named Elaine, a 74-year-old retired librarian from Oregon, who described how her daily postnasal drip began affecting her confidence. For years, she was an active participant in her community choir, but gradually, the morning mucus started affecting her singing voice. "I'd show up to rehearsal and spend the first 20 minutes just trying to get my throat clear," she said. "Eventually, I started skipping practices. I just couldn't bear the embarrassment." She assumed it was just aging and gave up on something she loved. It wasn't until her daughter bought her a bedside humidifier and encouraged her to raise her pillow height at night that things began to improve. Within weeks, her symptoms reduced by half. After a month, she was back to singing again. Elaine's story isn't unique. Many older adults feel robbed of their voice, not just literally, but socially and emotionally. They begin to self-isolate, avoid calls, skip events, or stop speaking up in groups, not because of illness, but because of a hidden, fixable issue. So what can you do about it? Here are a few practical and proven steps. Use a humidifier, especially during colder months when indoor heating dries out the air. Elevate your head while sleeping to reduce mucus buildup. Avoid overusing nasal sprays, especially decongestants that can backfire with long-term use. Drink warm lemon water or ginger tea in the morning to loosen mucus. Rinse your nasal passages with a saline solution to keep them moist and flush out irritants. You don't need to suffer silently. Postnasal drip might seem harmless, but when it affects your sleep, voice, or confidence, it becomes a quality of life issue, and you deserve better. When people hear the words acid reflux, Most immediately think of a burning sensation in the chest, classic heartburn after a spicy meal or a heavy dinner. But for many older adults, the reflux they experience doesn't come with that familiar burn. In fact, it doesn't feel like reflux at all. Instead, it shows up in a much sneakier, more confusing way. A thick layer of mucus in the throat each morning, chronic throat clearing, and a raspy or hoarse voice. This is what doctors refer to as silent reflux or laryngopharyngeal reflux, LPR, and it's one of the most frequently missed causes of persistent mucus production in seniors. Here's what happens. As we age, the lower esophageal sphincter, a small but crucial ring of muscle that separates the stomach from the esophagus, begins to weaken. This muscle normally acts like a valve, opening to let food into the stomach and closing to keep acid from rising back up. But when it becomes less effective, small amounts of stomach acid can escape upward, especially when you're lying flat at night. What makes silent reflux so confusing is that it doesn't always cause pain. Instead of heartburn, you wake up with a need to clear your throat repeatedly, a sticky feeling in your mouth or throat, hoarseness or changes in your voice, a sensation of something stuck in the throat, occasional coughing that doesn't go away. Your body, in response to this irritation, produces mucus, not because your sinuses are inflamed or infected, but to coat and protect the delicate tissues of your vocal cords, throat, and larynx from the acid that crept up during the night. This type of mucus isn't thin or watery. It's thick, sticky, and difficult to clear. And because it's not caused by an infection, antibiotics do nothing. Because it doesn't involve congestion, allergy medication doesn't help either. That's why so many seniors suffer for months, or even years, without any answers. Let me tell you about Gerald, a 70-year-old retired contractor from Minnesota. Gerald had always been a healthy, active guy. But over the course of a year, he started noticing a constant, irritating need to clear his throat. At first, he assumed it was allergies. Then, he thought it was post-nasal drip from the dry air. He changed his diet, stopped drinking milk, even began taking allergy medication. Nothing worked. The worst part? He had no pain, no burning, just the mucus. Finally, after visiting an ENT specialist, Gerald was diagnosed with silent reflux. The doctor explained that even though he wasn't feeling heartburn, his vocal cords were being bathed in stomach acid during the night, and his body was producing mucus as a natural defense. The solution wasn't medication alone. It was also lifestyle changes. Here's what Gerald did. He started eating dinner earlier, at least 3 hours before bed. He added a wedge pillow to keep his upper body elevated while he slept. He cut back on acidic foods like tomatoes, chocolate, and coffee in the evening. He replaced late-night snacks with soothing herbal teas like chamomile and ginger. Within 2 weeks, his mucus began to decrease. After a month, he was waking up clear-throated and comfortable for the first time in over a year. Gerald's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the real problem is invisible, and that's exactly why it's missed. Silent reflux is common in older adults, especially those who are more sedentary in the evenings, eat dinner late, or lie down shortly after meals. Even something as simple as reclining in a chair after dessert can be enough to let acid travel upward. Here's something important to understand. Mucus is not the enemy. It's your body's alarm system. It's telling you that something's wrong. And when your throat feels thick and congested in the morning, that's your body responding to irritation, not just randomly misfiring. So how can you manage silent reflux and stop the cycle? Lifestyle tips for relief. Elevate the head of your bed by 4-6 inches or use a wedge pillow. Avoid eating within 3 hours of lying down. Eliminate or reduce acidic foods, citrus, tomatoes, vinegar, soda, coffee, especially at night. Eat smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. Drink soothing herbal teas after dinner. Keep a reflux journal to track what triggers your symptoms. If these changes don't resolve your symptoms, speak with your doctor about testing for LPR. They may recommend a pH monitor, a referral to a gastroenterologist, or a trial of proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, or H2 blockers, but many people find that lifestyle changes alone are often enough to dramatically reduce or eliminate symptoms. On the emotional side, it's worth mentioning the toll that silent reflux takes on self-esteem and mental health. Many older adults begin avoiding conversations because of their raspy voice. They feel anxious in public settings, constantly worrying about clearing their throat in front of others. Some even fear they might have a more serious illness, like throat cancer or chronic bronchitis. But here's the truth. You're not broken, and you're not overreacting. Your symptoms are real, and your body is simply asking you to listen more closely. If you're waking up every morning with mucus in your throat and nothing seems to explain it, no fever, no runny nose, no seasonal allergies, silent reflux could be the hidden cause. And the best part? Once you know what you're dealing with, you can take back control. When we think of mucus problems, we often imagine a cold or allergy flare-up. But for many older adults, the culprit isn't viral or allergic at all. It's simply the air inside their home. What most people don't realize is that dry indoor air, especially in winter when the heat is on, or summer when air conditioning runs constantly, can severely irritate the respiratory system. And your body's natural response? More mucus. It seems counterintuitive at first. Dry air should mean a dry nose, right? But in reality, when the delicate lining of your nose, throat, and lungs gets too dry, your body senses it as damage, much like how your skin becomes dry and cracked in winter. To protect those internal surfaces, your body starts producing extra mucus in an attempt to add moisture, soothe inflammation, and flush out potential irritants like dust or bacteria. This mucus is different from what you get during an infection. It's thicker, stickier, and harder to clear. And since we spend nearly 1/3 of our lives sleeping, often with our mouths slightly open, especially as we age, the overnight exposure to dry air becomes a recipe for waking up with that dreaded morning throat congestion. As we get older, this problem becomes even more pronounced. That's because mucous membranes naturally thin with age, making them more vulnerable to drying out. Our hydration levels decrease, and medications like antihistamines, blood pressure pills, and diuretics often make it worse by further dehydrating the body. The result? You go to bed feeling fine and wake up coughing, clearing your throat, and battling thick mucus that seems to appear out of nowhere. This isn't just a physical inconvenience, it can also have a psychological toll. When you feel like you're constantly hacking or clearing your throat, you might start to avoid conversations. Maybe you hesitate to answer the phone because your voice sounds hoarse. Maybe you stop going out for breakfast with friends because you don't want to be coughing in public. It's easy to feel like your body is betraying you for no clear reason. Let me share a story with you that perfectly illustrates how dry indoor air can go undetected and how easily it can be fixed. Meet Walter, a 72-year-old retired firefighter from Ohio. Walter had spent more than a year waking up with a frog in his throat, as he called it. He tried everything, switched to lactose-free milk, cut down on coffee, used allergy sprays, and even changed his toothpaste. Nothing helped. Every morning, like clockwork, he sat at the kitchen table coughing, spitting, and reaching for tissues. His wife thought it was postnasal drip. His doctor said it might be age. Walter felt hopeless. Then, during a visit in December, his daughter noticed something simple. The house felt like a desert. The air was dry, the heat was on full blast, and there wasn't a drop of moisture in the air. She bought him a small humidifier for the bedroom as a Christmas gift, not expecting much. But within 7 days, the mucus had cut in half. By the end of 2 weeks, Walter's throat was clear in the mornings for the first time in over a year. He hadn't changed his medication. He didn't start a new diet. He just added moisture to the air. This one change transformed his mornings. He started enjoying his coffee again, without throat clearing or embarrassment. He began taking morning walks again. His energy came back, not because of a miracle drug, but because he finally understood what his body was asking for. Walter's experience is a powerful reminder. Sometimes the solution is so simple, we overlook it entirely. So, what can you do if you suspect dry air is contributing to your morning mucus? Here are a few practical steps. Invest in a bedroom humidifier, especially during colder months when the heater is running. Keep humidity levels around 40–50%. Not too low, but not excessively high either. Drink a glass of water right before bed and another as soon as you wake up. Place a bowl of water near heat sources like radiators or vents to add passive moisture to the room. Use saline nasal sprays, non-medicated, to moisturize nasal passages, especially before bedtime. Keep indoor plants like peace lilies or snake plants. They naturally release moisture into the air and improve air quality. Open windows briefly during the day to let in fresh air and reduce indoor air stagnation, which can irritate your throat even further. Also, be mindful of central heating systems, which can rapidly dry out air without you realizing it. Consider using a humidistat to monitor the actual humidity in your home. It's a small investment that can save you a lot of guessing. And most importantly, don't ignore how you feel in the morning. If you wake up with a dry mouth, sore throat, or persistent mucus, your body is telling you something. These aren't just signs of aging. They're signs of imbalance, and your environment may be the cause. You deserve to start your day comfortably. You deserve to breathe without irritation, to talk without clearing your throat every 30 seconds, and to enjoy breakfast with your loved ones without worrying about mucus. The good news is, the answer could be sitting right in the corner of your room, in the form of a humidifier. By the time we reach our 60s, 70s, and beyond, most of us are on at least 1 or 2 medications. For many, it's more than a handful: blood pressure pills, diuretics, cholesterol meds, something for arthritis, maybe an antihistamine here and there. These medications can be life-saving, no doubt. But what's often overlooked is how many common prescriptions quietly contribute to mucus buildup, especially in the mornings. If you've been waking up with a dry mouth, a thick layer of mucus in your throat, or a constant need to clear your voice, your body may not be reacting to illness. It might be reacting to your medication regimen. Let's break this down. Certain categories of medications are known to dry out the body's mucous membranes, which can have a cascade effect on your respiratory system. Here are a few common culprits. Antihistamines. While they're designed to reduce mucus production from allergies, they also dry out the sinuses and throat, causing your body to produce thicker mucus as a compensatory mechanism. Diuretics, often prescribed for high blood pressure. These increase urination to reduce fluid retention, but they also reduce overall hydration, drying out tissues throughout the body, including the nose and throat. ACE inhibitors, also for blood pressure. Known to cause a persistent dry cough in many patients, which can be confused with mucus or chronic bronchitis. Antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. Many of these affect the body's autonomic nervous system, leading to dry mouth, reduced saliva, and throat irritation. Certain Parkinson's and dementia medications can alter muscle control around the throat and esophagus, leading to excess saliva or mucus sensations. When the delicate balance of hydration and mucus production in the body is disrupted, either by dehydration or by altered nerve signals, your system tends to overproduce mucus in response. But the mucus it creates isn't easy to clear. It's thick, sticky, stubborn, and worst of all, it often feels like it's coming from deep in your lungs, even if it's only pooling in your throat. This leads to a frustrating cycle. You wake up coughing and clearing, assume you're getting sick, take more medication, and end up dehydrating your body even further. Let me share the story of Marjorie, a 76-year-old widow from North Carolina. For nearly 2 years, Marjorie had been dealing with what she believed was chronic bronchitis. Every morning, she hacked up thick mucus. She was prescribed multiple rounds of antibiotics. She tried allergy sprays, changed her diet, and even switched to herbal teas. Nothing worked. Eventually, during a visit to a new geriatric physician, the doctor reviewed her medication list. It was a combination of 3 medications that all had drying side effects: an antihistamine for sleep, a diuretic for her blood pressure, and an antidepressant she had been taking since losing her husband. The doctor suggested something radical. No new meds, but instead adjusting the timing and type of the existing ones. Marjorie switched her antihistamine to a less drying formula. She took her diuretic earlier in the day and increased her water intake slightly, especially before bed and first thing in the morning. Within 2 weeks, her mucus production dropped by nearly 70%. She said, "I finally felt like I had my voice back. I could enjoy my coffee again without having to cough every few minutes." For Marjorie, the issue wasn't disease, it was interaction. Her body wasn't malfunctioning. It was reacting exactly how it was designed to. It just needed someone to look at the bigger picture. And that's a message many seniors need to hear. Your symptoms might not be from aging or illness. They might be from medication. And in many cases, it's not about stopping the meds. It's about understanding them, balancing them, and working with your physician to reduce unwanted side effects. Here are a few things you can do if you suspect your medications are causing morning mucus. What you can do: review your full medication list with your doctor or pharmacist. Don't just focus on one drug. Look at how multiple medications might be working together to dry out your system or irritate your throat. Time your doses carefully. Diuretics late at night can disrupt hydration during sleep. Antihistamines too close to bedtime can dry out your throat and nasal passages overnight. Hydrate strategically. Drink water with each medication dose, unless your doctor advises against it. And make a point to drink a full glass before bed and immediately upon waking. Consider saliva stimulants like sugar-free lozenges, gum, or even prescription salivary enhancers if you suffer from dry mouth due to medication. Ask about alternatives. Many medications have newer versions or related drugs with fewer drying side effects. Don't hesitate to ask your provider, "Is there another option that might be gentler on my throat or sinuses?" The emotional impact of medication-related mucus is also worth acknowledging. When the people around you don't see what's going on, when you feel fine but sound like you're sick, it can be frustrating and isolating. You might find yourself apologizing for coughing, avoiding social situations, or skipping events where conversation is expected. But it doesn't have to be this way. Just like Marjorie, you can reclaim your comfort. Your symptoms are not imaginary. They're not just aging. They're part of a bigger puzzle, and that puzzle includes the medications you rely on every day. So take the time to look at the full picture. You have every right to ask questions, request adjustments, and advocate for your comfort. Your morning shouldn't begin with a cough. It should begin with clarity, calm, and control. Sometimes, the root cause of that sticky, uncomfortable morning, mucus, isn't medical, environmental, or pharmaceutical. It's behavioral. In fact, many seniors struggling with persistent throat mucus are unknowingly sabotaging their respiratory health with small, daily lifestyle habits that sneak up over time. These habits aren't malicious or reckless. They're often done out of convenience, comfort, or routine. But when they add up, they create the perfect storm for mucus production, throat irritation, and that dreaded feeling of always needing to cough or clear your throat, especially after waking up. So, what kind of habits are we talking about? Let's break them down. 1. Late-night snacking or eating heavy dinners. Many people enjoy a little something sweet or savory before bed: a bowl of cereal, a piece of toast, some chocolate. But even small snacks eaten within an hour or two of bedtime can trigger acid reflux, especially when you lie down. And as we've covered earlier, reflux is one of the most overlooked causes of morning mucus. That's because even without the classic heartburn symptoms, stomach acid can sneak into the throat, irritate tissues, and trigger mucus production. 2. Mouth breathing while sleeping. As we age, our nasal passages become more easily blocked due to inflammation, sinus changes, or even mild sleep apnea. This can cause people to breathe through their mouths at night, especially if they snore or have trouble sleeping. Mouth breathing dries out the oral and throat tissues, which then signals your body to coat them with mucus for protection. Many people who mouth breathe wake up with thick mucus at the back of their throat and a dry, scratchy voice. 3. Low daily water intake. Hydration plays a direct role in mucus production and viscosity. If you're not drinking enough water, especially in the evening, your body creates thicker mucus to compensate. Seniors often drink less than they used to, either because of reduced thirst signals, medication side effects, or fear of nighttime bathroom trips. But underhydration is one of the most easily fixable contributors to morning mucus. 4. Caffeine and alcohol in the evening. Caffeine in coffee, tea, or chocolate, and alcohol are diuretics, which means they pull water out of your system. Consuming these in the evening leads to mild dehydration by morning, and that means thick, stubborn mucus as your body tries to soothe dried-out tissue. 5. Inactivity. Late in the day, movement helps regulate your digestion, fluid circulation, and respiratory strength. If you spend most of your afternoon or evening sitting, watching TV, reading, or reclining, it slows down your entire system. This can allow mucus to pool, especially in the throat, and increases the chance of overnight stagnation that greets you the next morning. These behaviors may not seem like much on their own, but when you combine a late dinner with a few glasses of wine, no evening water, and a night of mouth breathing on a dry pillowcase, you set yourself up for a mucus-filled morning. And it doesn't mean anything is medically wrong. It just means your body is responding to what it's been given. Let's look at a real-life story that illustrates this perfectly. Real-life example: Carl's quiet habits. Carl, a 69-year-old retired high school teacher from Arizona, had been experiencing morning throat gunk for nearly 3 years. Every morning he spent 30 minutes coughing, gargling, sipping hot coffee, and blowing his nose, even though he didn't have a cold. He blamed allergies. His doctor suspected mild post-nasal drip. Carl tried allergy meds, nasal sprays, and even essential oils. Nothing helped. It wasn't until he casually mentioned his evening routine during a visit with his daughter, a nurse, that things began to click. Carl's routine? A glass of red wine with dinner at 8 p.m., a bit of dark chocolate afterward, falling asleep watching TV in a recliner chair, waking up parched in the middle of the night but avoiding water so he wouldn't have to get up again. His daughter gently suggested a few small changes: eat dinner earlier, skip the wine for a week, drink water before bed, and use a wedge pillow in bed rather than falling asleep in the chair. Within 10 days, his symptoms were almost gone. "It was wild," Carl said. "I thought it was my sinuses. Turns out it was just my habits catching up to me." What you can do. You don't need to overhaul your entire life, but a few small adjustments can make a huge difference. Eat dinner earlier, 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Limit snacks close to bedtime, especially sugary or spicy foods. Drink a full glass of water before bed, unless medically advised not to. Avoid alcohol and caffeine in the evening. Use a wedge pillow or elevate your head slightly while sleeping. Treat mild snoring or mouth breathing, nasal strips, saline rinses, or talking to your doctor about sleep apnea. Take short walks after dinner to improve digestion and circulation. Keep a mucus journal for a week, tracking what you eat, drink, and do before bed. Morning mucus isn't always a medical mystery. It's often a reflection of your nightly routine. And the most empowering part is this: you can change it. You don't need a prescription to eat earlier. You don't need a specialist to drink more water or move after dinner. And once you spot the connection between your habits and your symptoms, it becomes easier to make choices that work with your body instead of against it. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for tissues or clearing your throat before that first cup of tea, ask yourself, what did I do last night? You might just find the answer sitting right there in your own routine. Let's take a breath and step back for a moment. You've just gone through a journey that started with something simple, waking up with mucus in your throat, and discovered that behind that one frustrating symptom lies a network of causes, each one connected to your body, your habits, your environment, and your health history. And now you know, you're not alone. This isn't just a weird thing that happens as you get older. It's not something to silently suffer through. And more importantly, it's not something you have to live with forever. If there's one truth that ties everything together, it's this. Your body is always talking to you. Morning mucus isn't nonsense. It's not random. It's a message. It's your body's way of asking for attention, balance, and care. Sometimes it's saying, I'm irritated. Sometimes it's saying, I'm dehydrated. Sometimes it's whispering, I need a little less acid, a little more moisture, or just a little less stress. And now, you're finally in a position to listen. Let's recap the journey. Reason 1. You learned how silent acid reflux can send stomach acid creeping up your throat while you sleep, causing mucus to appear without any warning. Reason 2. We explored postnasal drip, allergies, and sinus issues that can worsen overnight, especially if you lie flat or have undiagnosed inflammation. Reason 3. You saw how dry indoor air, often unnoticed, can dry out the sinuses and throat, triggering your body to create thick mucus to protect itself. Reason 4. You uncovered how medications, even life-saving ones, can have side effects that cause dehydration, dry mouth, or mucus imbalances, especially when taken at certain times or in combination. Reason 5. You recognized that your own lifestyle habits, from late-night snacking to mouth breathing and low water intake, might be playing a bigger role than you ever imagined. None of these reasons are about failure or weakness. They're about awareness. They're about seeing the full picture, the way your body operates as a system, not in isolation, but in beautiful, complex harmony. And the good news? That awareness gives you power. Let me tell you one final story. This one's about Diane, a 74-year-old grandmother from Michigan. Diane spent years frustrated by her morning mucus. She thought she had chronic arthritis. She gave up eating. She blamed her. One day, while in football, a friend calculated how her own mucus cleared out after adjusting her reflex medication and getting a diuretics. That moment was awesome for her. She went home, reevaluated her entire routine, and realized she had the exact same symptoms. She booked a follow-up with her doctor, who confirmed that the silent reflux and dry air exposure completely made her heating. Within a month, Diane was working at Mucus. Her life didn't change because of one pill. It changed because of awareness, curiosity, and the courage to ask better questions. You have that same power. What can you do starting tonight? Here's the simple truth. You don't have to do everything at once. Start small. Start with just one of the changes we've talked about. Add a humidifier to your bedroom. Elevate your pillow slightly. Drink a glass of water before bed and right after you wake. Talk to your doctor about your medications and whether they might be contributing to dryness or mucus buildup. Track your food and mucus patterns in a simple notebook. Use a saline spray before bed to keep your nasal passages moist. Take an evening walk instead of reclining after dinner. Every small step gives your body a better chance to heal, regulate, and restore balance. You are not broken, you are not stuck. You are learning, you are healing, and you are far from alone. A final word of encouragement. Morning mucus can feel like a nuisance, but what it really represents is a signal from your body, a body that's been working hard to protect you, to adapt, and to function through decades of life, change, and challenges. That mucus is not your enemy, it's a message. Now, you have the knowledge to decode that message. You have the tools to respond, gently, intentionally, and with self-respect. And most importantly, you have permission to advocate for yourself, to ask better questions, to challenge dismissive answers, and to try new things, not because you're desperate, but because you're finally aware of the deeper why. Your mornings can be clearer, your voice can be stronger, your confidence can return. This isn't the beginning of a decline, it's the start of a comeback. So tonight, as you prepare for bed, do one thing with intention. Support your body in the quiet, subtle ways it's asking for help. Breathe deeply, hydrate fully, And remember, change doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. One morning soon, you'll wake up with a clear throat and a sense of victory you haven't felt in years.